Welcome into Miami Dolphins. Today I am your host, RC Maxfield, and if you haven't already, be sure to hit that big red button right below me to stay in the know when it comes to everything Miami Dolphins news and rumors. This is your one-stop shop. We're getting close to preseason week 1, and we're inching ever so closely to week 1 of the regular season, and we will keep you updated right here on Miami Dolphins Today. A pleasant surprise came out on Tuesday where Mike Gesicki was activated from the reserve COVID-19 list. He went on August 1st, and he had a couple of days where he was really impressive in camp early on. And now there's a rumor circulating through the beat writers out there that he could potentially play in preseason week 1, which is on Saturday against the Chicago Bears up at Soldier Field. Now, I wouldn't get my hopes up when it comes to Mike Gesicki playing early in the preseason, at least week 1, because again, you want to get him acclimated back to that practice schedule and get him a little reps and get him his feet under him. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's back in week 2. Now, looking at what Mike Gesicki did last year for the Miami Dolphins, he was reliable as it comes. He kind of had a mini breakout, at least at the tight end position. Now, again, he's not Travis Kelce. He's not Darren Waller or even George Kittle, but he is a reliable target, having 53 catches last year, 703 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I expect that to increase, especially with him and Tua in that connection that they developed a little late last year in the season. Again, he didn't play all 16 games last year, but he was reliable for both Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua Tagovailoa, who has shown in preseason that he is willing to go down the field, and Mike Gesicki is one of the best stretch tight ends in the NFL. Now, want to look at the playmakers that the Dolphins have in terms of the wide receiver depth chart. Now, obviously, Mike Gesicki isn't on here, but when you're looking at the current names and who's on there right now, you have Devontae Parker, who is not really participating in training camp, at least early on. Now he's back. Will Fuller, haven't seen a lot of him. Jaylen Waddle, he's been impressive so far. Now you're talking about an onslaught of offensive weapons, and Mike Gesicki needs to be involved in that conversation as one of the best weapons that Tua has going into this year, because, again, Tua is known kind of that dink and dunk and really accurate type quarterback. Well, Mike Gesicki can change that a little bit and open up the field for guys like Jaylen Waddle and a guy that Albert Wilson, who has impressed so far in camp. Again, Mike Gesicki getting activated right now probably won't play in preseason week 1, but he will go into week 2 and play there because, again, he's just too important to this team not to get him on there and get game reps with Tua Tagovailoa. But I do have a question. I mentioned that Mike Gesicki had a breakout last year. Does he take that breakout to the next level? Over under Gesicki 800 yards receiving in 2021. Type O for over, type U for under. I'm going to go over just because I think that Miami is going to pass a little bit more this year. They have obviously Myles Gaskin in the backfield, but the onslaught of weapons they have, I think that Tua will be asked to pass more. And I think that his first target a lot of times could be Mike Gesicki, just knowing Tua Tagovailoa's tendencies. And then be sure, comment down below one more time. Again, type O for over, U for under. Will Mike Gesicki get 800 yards receiving in 2021? Again, I'm going over just because I think this Dolphins offense elevates just a little bit in 2021. Got to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's video, BetUS. They have the best deposit bonus in the game right now. You get 125% deposit bonus on your first deposit. So what does that mean? Again, let's just say you put $100 into BetUS right now. They give you $125 to use on the site. Again, but you have to use the promo code Dolphins125 and use the link chatsports.com/bet. Again, Dolphins125 is the promo code over on chatsports.com/bet. And again, my favorite bets, we've talked about it in previous videos, I'm putting some money down on Tua Tagovailoa to win that MVP. Hey, why not? You can profit quite a bit on that. And hey, preseason week 1 is coming around. The over-under in that game is 35.5. I might go under, but Brian Flores did say that some of the guys will be playing in preseason week 1. But Chicago Bears are favored by 4 points. We can't let Harrison Graham and that Bears channel over here on Chat Sports get all the love. Go bet on your Miami Dolphins, and the place to do that is chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code Dolphins125. The Dolphins released their first unofficial depth chart of training camp, and quite a bit of surprises on here as we'll run through it. Devontae Parker Albert Wilson, Will Fuller are the wide receivers. Obviously, Tua, the QB1, Myles Gaskin, and then you have Mike Gesicki as well at tight end. A lot of shuffling, I should say, on that offensive line, as Jackson will be at left tackle, but you have Eichenberg, who was presumably the right tackle, moving to left guard early on. You have Hunt moving inside as well, who was at right tackle at times last year, now at right guard. And then Jesse Davis at right tackle. On the defensive side, there was one thing that kind of stood out to me, and we'll get those takeaways here in just a second. But you look at the cornerbacks and then the safety. It's obviously great to see X down there at the CB position opposite of Byron Jones. You have Coleman at the nickel corner position. And then Andrew Van Ginkel right there at the linebacking position. He's probably going to be that hybrid outside linebacker, edge rusher type. Not a lot of surprises there outside of maybe the safety spot. And then on the specialist, the thing that stood out to me, we had talked about it in previous days, was who's going to be that primary specialist in terms of kick return and punt returner? Well, Jakeem Grant is listed as the number one guy. But here are my 5 major takeaways from the first unofficial depth chart the Dolphins released. 5th on the list is Jalen Phillips, is a third-string guy. And again, I don't think that should be a surprise to a lot of people, but some people will see, hey, he's a first-round pick. What is he doing so low on the depth chart? Well, he really hasn't been healthy. If you look at it, he's got health issues dating back all the way to when he was 10, when he first got his first concussion, and then also has had wrist and ankle problems in college. So him at third string doesn't really surprise me. I think once he gets back in the swing of things at practice, and he has been seen running and jogging at practice, just not participating in team drills, I think he'll shoot up that depth chart. The next one I have is Jason McCourty at free safety. I think a lot of people thought that that would be Holland starting after he started the last 3 practices down in Miami before they traveled up to Chicago, but it is indeed the veteran starting at free safety, at least for the time being, on this unofficial depth chart, which I thought was kind of surprising just because of how Holland has done in terms of takeaway skills on defense. Now, the next one, Jesse Davis. I don't think anybody saw this coming, at least early on in camp. There's been a lot of shuffling, as I mentioned, on that offensive line. I think Jesse Davis at right tackle is probably the biggest wow factor in terms of didn't see that coming. And the reason I say that, again, you draft Liam Eichenberg to be a guy on that offensive line, and he's presumably to be that right tackle, but you move him to the left side. Apparently that's all going well. But now you have Jesse Davis on the right side, and then you move Liam into left guard, who is my next takeaway here. I don't think a lot of people expected that, at least early on in camp, that shuffling to happen. I mean, it is training camp. There will be shuffling, but it sounds like this is the direction that the Dolphins really want to go in terms of keeping Eichenberg and Jackson on that left side, keeping them as the young duo, and then having Hunt move into right guard, and then Jesse Davis at right tackle. But don't be surprised at all if they add an offensive tackle or just offensive lineman in general in a surprise cut in terms of another team, and then the Dolphins add them. But the biggest takeaway by far, just wow. Albert Wilson starting, and when I say wow, don't mishear me on this. This is an awesome story, right? You think about it. Albert Wilson had a huge hip injury in 2019. Obviously didn't play last year because of opting out due to COVID, but he has impressed and then some in training camp so far. There have been multiple videos posted to the Miami Dolphins Twitter about Albert Wilson and Tua connecting on deep plays. He has been nothing short of electric. And again, I mentioned he did suffer that hip injury in 2019 in Week 7. He opted out last season in 2020 due to COVID-19. But again, he's just been electric, and this makes a lot of sense, right? You'd think that maybe Jaylen Waddle would be ahead of him, but I think Jaylen Waddle will get a lot of run. The biggest thing for me is I am going to thoroughly enjoy the sets where they have Waddle and Wilson on the field. I think it will be absolutely elite. I think that it could be just dynamite in terms of helping Tua, because you think, again, what I mentioned earlier, Tua Tagovailoa, he's not known for his arm strength down the field, but he is accurate, and if you can get it to guys like Waddle and Wilson and have multiple options on the field to take the ball to the house literally on a 5-yard slant, I think that's awesome for the Miami Dolphins offense. But let me know, what surprised you the most about the first unofficial depth chart? I think a lot of people will say Albert Wilson just because, again, there were rumors that he might not even make the team. Now he's a starter. I think it's awesome to see him, but I think the offensive line is also a big surprise in terms of the shuffling and what we might see this year for the Dolphins. Andrew Van Ginkel starting at edge. I think that might surprise some people as well, just because, again, you did draft Jalen Phillips, who has been injured and hasn't had a lot of time in camp. But Van Ginkel had a productive 2020. Yes, he missed 11 days of training camp due to a lower body injury. It wasn't really disclosed exactly what that was, but he is the front runner to start at outside linebacker / edge rush spot, which I think could be absolutely huge. We're going to look at his stats from the past 2 seasons, and Van Ginkel just took a monumental step forward from 2019 to 2020. First and foremost, games played. That's what you should pay attention to right away. He played in all 16 games last year. He had 48 tackles, 7 tackles for loss right there. And then QB hits, he had 10 with 6 sacks and 3 forced fumbles. He was a really true impact player for the Dolphins when it came to getting to the passer and being disruptive in the backfield. Now, the depth chart, we looked at it a little bit, but this is what the linebackers currently look like. You have Agba on the left side, and then you have Van Ginkel, who can kind of play anywhere he really wants. Would it surprise me if he's got his hand in the ground? No. Would it surprise me if he's up and dropping back into coverage? Absolutely not. I think he's one of the most versatile guys in that front 7 for the Miami Dolphins, and I think he's a perfect fit to play alongside McKinney and Baker, who are obviously really good linebackers, but they allow Van Ginkel to even get more pressure because of the presence that the offensive line and really just offensive coordinators have to have on those 2 guys in the center of the Miami Dolphins defense. So predict it. Who will lead the Dolphins in sacks this season? I think this is a difficult question. I'd probably go with Agba, but I think Van Ginkel can even elevate his game just a bit more, right? 5.5 sacks last season. I think it can go a little bit more, probably in that 8 range. I don't know if anybody gets to double digits, but it wouldn't surprise me because Brian Flores and his defensive scheme are absolutely electric. And hey, you got a lot more talent on that defense. But that's going to do it for Miami Dolphins today. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right below to get the best Miami Dolphins news and rumors. I've been your host, RC Maxfield. We'll catch y'all next time, guys.